could be seen in descriptions of the Israelite God, and then how this influence of these other gods could be seen even when there was an extreme separation between Yahweh and the other gods. Let me see. And this kind of reflects something I didn't know about. Do you all know the term monolatry? Okay, it's kind of between polytheism and monotheism. Monolatry is the belief that there are other gods, but our God is the best God, or our God is the one that we should follow. And so it's not that he is the only God, but that he's the one that we should follow. So Miller gives a description of El, who was the Canaanite god, using some of these terms. Judge over the council of gods, sometimes stern, often compassionate, and bound to tribe or king with covenant ties. Okay. And so you can see immediately how this is like some of the descriptions of the Israelite God. But even the idea that God is involved in our most personal affairs was common with the other gods, the other Mesopotamian gods, in that they were essentially gods of neighborhoods or gods of my place. They would help to provide fertility in my little area. They would help bring rain to my area. That kind of thing. So even after Yahweh was separated from other gods, God in some places in the Bible has the characteristics of Baal, who was the storm god, able to affect all nature, including the rains and the lightning, wouldn't you know? And some descriptions of God appear to be the same as Baal as the warrior god, victorious in battle. That is, victorious himself or helping others to be victorious in battle. But even later, this influence is seen in Elijah when he is trying to parcel off the Israeli God from the other gods by saying that God rejects the wind and earthquake and fire, and instead comes and shows himself with a low whisper. So it's this whole thing about if you have to keep worrying about your people worshiping other gods, then it must be happening. And there may be good historical reasons for it. So Miller says that it's not helpful just to focus on the uniqueness of God, of our God, that rather the better way to do it is to focus on both the similarities with other gods and the discontinuities with other gods. That may actually not only give a fuller picture, but be more true to how God is described in the Bible. And finally, Miller says, and it could be that God revealed himself to the Canaanites first, and then to the Hebrew people through El. What in the world? Okay, so we have in Psalm 97 all sorts of things about God being over the other gods, being better than the other gods. I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit nervous about this because, well, partly because I just went to the Interfaith Alliance supper the other night and listened to the guy who's a Sikh, who's the president, and the vice president of that group, who's a Buddhist. And I know that disciples are very friendly to other people of other religions. But also, I have a problem with others having to be less. I mean, it may make sense in this context, but I don't like conversations about something is terribly wrong with us because we're last, or something is terribly wrong with Oklahoma because it's near the bottom. It essentially says somebody else should be there. And I'm not sure about that. Now, if we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, I may change my mind. What, the world? Yes, okay. So, where did the idols come from in these other religions? Well, their gods were patron gods, and so they were helpful to the community. They were fertility gods, and having an idol or having a little shrine in one's house was a sign of respect, a sign of a way to gain favor, a way to keep their God close by. You know, the archaeologists have found all sorts of little statues of gods that people either had in their homes, in their shrines, or they carried with them. Well, and of course they wanted the rains to come. So in reading Psalm 97, I think we need to be careful about throwing everybody into the audience of the golden calf or something if they appear to be trying to show respect to God. I mean, sometimes people do that in our own religious lives. Sometimes the scriptures might become an idol. Sometimes a cathedral might become an idol. Maybe even sometimes the cross. Maybe even sometimes our understanding of ourselves as sacrificing for the Lord. After all, God says at one point that those sacrifices don't mean a thing to him. He just wants people to act right. Well, and finally, in the Christian church, one of our most important parts of worship is the communion table, and it might be that the divine presence is brought to us through the communion table after all, in one of the creation stories, we are in the image of God, and we can bring about for God what needs to be done. But maybe sometimes we need to be sure that the communion table itself does not become an idol. Thanks be to God. Amen.
Thank you, Nance. And as we come to our time of invitation for membership, realizing that we can come to transfer membership, we can come as well for baptism, but knowing many already just jump right in and are part of our worship, and we're glad for that as well. And so as we come have our song, if you would like to come forward at this time, you can. As we come to the table, we know we are all welcome to come to be a part. And this last week, as being with the CYF, those who are in high school, as they helped to prepare communion, and sometimes had different things for communion, the question was always, how does this relate? And they were always able to find ways to bring it out, to help us to celebrate the Lord's table, which might be, went along with our theme, another way. To know that we can come around this table and to know that each one, wherever we are in our journey, we are able to come to this table, and all are always welcome. For we know when Jesus welcomed the disciples around the table, each one came from a different place. And he showed us another way to be together, to remember, to know that we can come here over and over and find solace when we need it, joy and celebration. For he said, "This is my body, which is given for each of you." And after the supper, he took the cup and he said, "This is the blood of the new covenant. As often as you eat this bread and you drink this cup, you do so in remembrance of me."
Would you join me in prayer? How often have we stood beside David as the storm clouds roll in? They are clashingly loud, exhilaratingly bright, but highly frightening. Those are all familiar to us. We are embarrassed to take cover, but just as embarrassed not to. When it passes through, we can sit in the morning's quiet and be at peace. And we want peace, not just for us, but for the ones profiled, for the ones afraid, for the ones unwelcome. By your grace, we want to act as you do. You forgave our idolatries, our prejudices, our wants. We remember at your table that we eat the bread and drink the wine to embrace Jesus' body and blood. We remember that we are blessed with your life. May we love as we have been. In the name of the one whose life led us to this table. Amen.
We have several announcements today. As we've been saying at First Christian in Edmond, we will be able to vote next week on having our regional minister, who would be Michael Davison. He's been in the region for at least 15 years as our associate, and so many of you may know of that name or know of him. He does a lot with our camp and conference at this time, but he'll be moving on to another role. We are to vote on that at First Christian in Edmond. You can be there in person at 1 p.m. for the business, or you can go online. I think there's still time to register for the event. We also have, this past week, Bailey and Jacob went to camp, and I asked Jacob, it was his first time ever to go to camp as a 9th grader, and I said at the end of the week, I said, well, what do you think? Will you come back next year? And he said, well, maybe, probably I will. So I feel like that's a good thing from someone who's in 9th grade. This week, we have 5 going to junior camp. We have Charlotte and Isaiah, Layton, Genova, and Aaliyah. And Jimmy Illy and I will be going as counselors. You can pray that we don't have as much rain. Last week, we slogged through the first couple days, and then it turned bright and sunny. So, but everybody, the word was flexible. So we are glad for that.
Prepare your hearts for the words of benediction. Like a rock, God is under our feet. Like a roof, God is over our heads. Like the horizon, God is beyond us. Like water in a pitcher, God is within us and in the pouring out of us. Like a pebble in the sea, we are in God. Let us go out and change our world as God has changed our lives. Amen.